Good day. This is the Semillas News and Review, where we cover the top news stories of the week. We are covering the last week of May in 2026. Greetings from Semillas, a independent working class think tank and action center for the working class. Today, we're launching the Semillas News and Review, a weekly service being introduced for you to look at the top news stories of the week. But our intention is much deeper. Our intention is to help you learn to see below the surface, interpreting through a working class perspective what in fact is actually happening in the world. We need to explain why these are the top stories and their dynamics. And unfortunately, mainstream media, because it's owned by the 1%, the top financial elites are only providing us with one version of the news. They're not providing us with a deeper insight into the news, nor are they willing to look below the surface and see what is actually happening. The most important story today is the Commerce Department announcement that inflation hit 3.8% this past month. This is a mini disaster in the making. Inflation is now getting out of control. You know that already. The price of gas, the price of groceries, the price of everything is going out of control. Why? That brings in the other top story of the week, the status of the Iran war that is taking place right now. The new details this week are that even though the United States and Iran have stated that they are negotiating a peace treaty, there's actually active war going on, active engagement. One side hits the other, and it doesn't look like there's any particular way out. But where did this whole thing start in the first place? Below the surface, looking below the surface, we have to recognize that this is part of a 100-year campaign of domination by the West, Europe, and the United States over the Middle East. And why? Well, I think you know why. It is over oil. While Osama bin Laden a long time ago called the West the Crusaders, launching another crusade for religious dominance over the Middle East, this is not about religion, it's about oil. Oil is the mother's milk of Western industrialization. And in the 1800s, is rapidly expanding economies throughout Europe, throughout the United States, realized that they were going to need unquenchable sources of oil. And they started looking for their new sources, and that became Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran. So this is what you need to start with to understand how the war winds up. You see how different Semillas News and Review is from the mainstream media, where you don't actually get the actual news and you're just giving a surface approach to what's going on, let alone understanding why some things are actually happening. So we go back to that war, started actually 1 year ago in 2025, in June 13th, in a surprise attack by the United States against Iran, even though they were negotiating so-called peace treaty. This was also part of a much broader negotiation to establish a new JCPOA, a Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that would limit Iran's nuclear potential. That's something that Trump ripped up in his first term 4 years earlier. He ripped up the treaty and that had been negotiated by Barack Obama that took care of the thing. If we had maintained this treaty, we would not be in a war today. But for various reasons underlying things that we'll talk about in a few minutes, Trump decided to rip up the whole thing. And then thereafter, he started assassinating Iranian leadership. All right, so from June, we come up to February 27th of this year, where, again, they're in negotiations with the United States and Iran, negotiating a peace treaty, and once again, the United States and Israel launch major aggression and attack the Iranian establishment. They wipe out large numbers of the leadership of Iran through bombing campaigns, including their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. It was a cowardly attack. You're in negotiations and you attack them behind their backs. So we have this war going on, and guess what? Each side is taking tremendous toll on the other side. While the United States has superior firepower, superior air power, ballistic missiles, etc., Iran has also ballistic missiles and drones. Drones are able to take out massive amounts of the weaponry that are in the Middle East, including in Israel. And you have these $2,000 drones taking out $2 million missiles. So this goes on from approximately 6 weeks, okay, where each side goes at each other, and there's tremendous, tremendous damage. United States is able to kill many, many Iranians, but guess what? Nothing happens. Nothing changes. It becomes obvious that there is no military victory at hand. So we stop. So as of that period, we have been in a stalemate for 90 days now. Stalemate means that there's no real day-to-day war going on anymore, but nothing is moving. All the ships, that are carrying oil and critical materials for the West, for instance, fertilizer that the West needs to plant crops, it's all stuck on the other side of the Hormuz Strait. So for 90 days, nothing has moved, and that's why you're starting to see the prices going up, and that's why you see the inflation rate ticking up today. So Donald Trump is at a crossroads. That's the news today. And he's basically got two options. The option of tactical retreat or strategic defeat. On the one hand, he can pull out of the Iran war right now and achieve a win on the issue of the nuclear bombs that he's so concerned about. There are no nuclear bombs, but he can ensure that no nuclear bombs will ever be developed on the part of Iran. And this will have an immediate positive benefit. Gas prices and the price of oil will collapse immediately because there's so much oil surplus on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz that once it starts flowing, the world economy will reset. Fuel, fertilizer, aluminum, helium. So we'll go back to what was a normal economic functioning of the entire world, and our prices in the United States will go down rapidly. But this will be an embarrassment, some say, for the president, that there's a lot of negatives attached to a tactical retreat. But again, understand you can go back to normalcy, but something is preventing Donald Trump from opting in that route. And so now he's faced with the prospect. Does he get out, or does he restart the military campaign against Iran once again and risk catastrophic and strategic defeat? To us, it would seem like a no-brainer, right? Strategic or tactical retreat, get the hell out, or strategic defeat, going down a path that could ultimately destroy your own interests. The problem is that we have these elite people in the United States called the neocons, the neoconservative, the war hawks that are both in Democratic and Republican Party leading policy. And in Israel has a very powerful forces inside the United States that are motivating Trump to keep going on this military path. In fact, a recent New York Times expose detailed how it was actually Israel and Israeli security apparatus Mossad, the Secret Service, the CIA of Israel, that led Donald Trump to be convinced to launch this most recent war in February. So this is what we're dealing with, that Donald Trump is being pushed in a particular way, and they egg Donald Trump on. If he starts vacillating and trying to back out, they call him Taco. Trump always chickens out. You've heard that, right? That he has to finish the job. But understand, this job cannot be finished short of nuclear annihilation, because that's what's underlying this whole thing now, which means that all of those countries in the Middle East would also be severely impacted. So a victory on our part, for us to say we won the day, would mean wiping out maybe a lot of those countries that are right next to Iran as well, further endangering the global economy. This would actually lead to a global collapse in the economic scenario. And Trump has already thought about using nuclear weapons in this campaign. In an Easter Day post, he talked about wiping Iran off the face of the map. Imagine a president of the United States saying something like this. But again, it wouldn't just be Iran. It'll be the various other nations that are surrounding Iran, even Israel, which has its own nuclear facilities that would be targeted in a full-fledged war and exchange with Iran. They would suffer significant nuclear damage. So you can imagine various nations being taken out of commission by choosing the military path. The best case military outcome for the United States would be catastrophic. The Middle East would be totally wiped out. The best option is the tactical retreat immediately. The American public needs to come to terms with reality. 100-year campaign to dominate the Middle East by Europe, the US, and now Israel has gone completely wrong. We have caused incredible damage to the people and the economy there in the past 30 years. According to the Cost of War Project at Brown University, the cost of the post-9/11 wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, and elsewhere total about $8 trillion. Actually, it's much higher by now. This does not include the future interest costs on borrowing for these wars. And an estimated 3.6 to 3.8 million people have died indirectly in post-9/11 war zones in the Middle East, bringing the total death toll to at least 4.5 to 4.7 million and counting. 38 million people have been displaced by the post-9/11 wars in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Somalia. Imagine if all those trillions of dollars had been spent for peaceful development on those millions of people who are now dead. Imagine spending all of that money on the American people. Until next week, this has been a production of Semillas News and Review program. Semillas is a working class think tank and action center, and we ask you to like, subscribe, contact us, and help sustain our efforts. Thank you very much.